This is Bluetti's AC200P portable power station, and it's been on the market for about a year now. So what I wanted to do today is perform tests based on some of the reviews that I've seen online about this product. Well, I experienced the same problems that other users have reported. Bluetti sent me this portable power station for a complete test and review. However, as I started to do some research on how this thing has performed, I uncovered a few questions that I wanted to answer before I go into the actual review. I wanted to take this review from the perspective of a possible buyer who is researching this and coming across some of those negative reviews online. I have the opportunity to make this unique video because this power station has been available for about a year now. And there are a few problems that users have reported. And in today's video, I'm gonna go through and test as many of those problems as I can and see if I either have the same problem or perhaps those problems have been resolved through firmware updates. The goal of this video is not necessarily to say that those problems don't exist, but as a consumer, I'm curious if a fresh AC200P out of the box has those same problems, indicating a design or an engineering flaw, or is it just a one-off problem that some of these units experience out of the box? So let's power up this Bluetti and talk about the first issue. The first one-star review on Amazon that I came across was that the iPhone 12 will not charge using the Bluetti's wireless charging capability. I have an iPhone 12 Pro Max with an OtterBox case on it that used to have one of those pop-it rings. However, the pop-it ring has been lost. Using this case, none of the wireless chargers that I have will work. First, I have to turn on the DC output, and then I'll just set it down and see if it kicks on. 19% state of charge. It actually does show that it's charging, but I feel like with this case, I'm probably not getting the best power output from this 15-watt charger. So my recommendation is if you have a case that's not compatible with wireless charging, either remove it or get a better case that is compatible with wireless charging. The next big concern that I've seen reported in multiple reviews is that the state of charge on the device does not match what the consumer thinks it should. And that is a problem that I have personally experienced with my Bluetti AC500 and B300S combination. And I'm not gonna lie, that problem did concern me when I came across it. But there's an explanation for that problem and a fix that will make it go away. For example, my device shows 81% state of charge. The AC500 that I have has a very similar display. And so when I started experiencing this problem on my AC500, here's what I did. Before panicking, I recommend you try to at least discharge the device completely first. Once it's discharged, recharge it to 100%. I've always understood that lithium batteries don't have a battery memory state, but there's something in the electronics that occasionally need to be recalibrated. So reading some of the feedback on one of the Bluetti forums on Facebook, what I found out is that you want to discharge your Bluetti completely to 0% until it shuts itself off. Once you've done that, recharge it to 100% again, and that problem will go away at least for a few months. To put a little more context into that problem, my AC500 is set up as a true off-grid power supply. And so it always has solar power going into it throughout the day, and it almost never has a load on it because I'm saving that power in case of an outage. So because it's always at that high state of charge and it's always keeping itself topped off, I believe it kind of forgets what the low state of charge for the battery is. If you're an electrical engineer or you know a little bit about portable power, let me know in the comments, what is the scientific explanation for the problem that I'm describing? Is it something to do with a battery memory? I think we have a problem. As I was talking, the phone stopped charging. It's now at 17%. So the battery has actually gone down since it's been on this wireless charger. And the output on the device shows that I am getting output. But remember, I did say I have this funky case that actually doesn't work well with wireless charging. So let me pop this case off and see how much power, or if I can get any power in my iPhone 12 with this device. So it did bump up to 4 watts. Now it's hitting 5 watts as I put it on there. So let me talk about problem number 3 while this thing charges, and we'll check in a little bit and see how it's going. Do me a favor, leave a vote in the comments. Type 1 in the comments if you haven't had any problems with your Bluetti. If you've had issues with your Bluetti, but they have also been resolved, leave a number 2 in the comments. And then finally, if you have an ongoing problem with your Bluetti that has not been resolved, leave a number 3 and let me know what's going on in the comments. So in the last 2 minutes, this phone has gone up from 17% to 20%, and it's pulling 8 watts. So we are getting some decent power out of it. So the third issue that users have encountered with this device is with solar charging. This thing is rated to take a maximum of 700 watts, which is a lot of solar power. We're talking 7 100-watt solar panels or some other combination. Bluetti offers this as a package deal with 2 350-watt solar panels. And if you look at the specifications of those solar panels, there is some information there that you really need to keep in mind when charging this device with solar power. It has a maximum wattage, but it also has a minimum voltage requirement. Most of the solar panels I have are set up for 12-volt systems, which means they put out around a nominal 12 volts, but in reality they're putting out about 20 volts to achieve that 12-volt system charging. So reading the fine print, this device requires a minimum of 41.5 volts to start charging. This is important because if you're buying this off of a website like Amazon and you're piecing together your solar panel array, make sure that you set up your panels in a manner that you're going to achieve that minimum voltage required to begin charging. So you buy 2 100-watt solar panels, you hook them up in parallel, and you're getting 0 watts into your system. If you have that scenario, put those in series so you can combine that voltage and trigger the MPPT on this device so you can start charging. Let's take a few seconds to go over all the specs of the device. The Bluetti AC200P has a 2000 watt pure sine wave AC invert rated between 100 and 120 volts. This thing has a massive DC panel, starting with this 2-prong DC outlet that has up to 25 amps max of output. So this is a very powerful output for a device like this. Most devices have a maximum of a 10 amp outlet, which this has right here. This is your standard car charging outlet, and it is rated at 12 volts and 10 amps max, or about 120 watts. In addition to that, it has these two 5521 barrel plug adapters. Moving over, it has one USB-C, which I feel like in 2023 we should have one 100-watt USB-C and possibly a second 60-watt USB-C outlet. We do have 4 15-watt USB-A outlets, and finally we have 2 15-watt wireless charging outlets on the top. So let's see what this thing is at right now. In the last 10 minutes or so, I've gone up from 17% to 20% state of charge on this iPhone 12. So the bottom line is, whenever you're relying on wireless charging, make sure your case is compatible, or you're just gonna get frustrated and nothing's gonna work. You can put in up to 500 watts in this power station using the included 8mm barrel plug adapter, or you can put in up to 700 watts from this DC input. Now, if you want to combine both AC and DC, you can get up to 1100 watts into this device, which is a significant amount of power. The Bluetti AC200P has lithium iron phosphate batteries, or LFP batteries, which is rated for 3500 complete discharge cycles with about 80% overall battery capacity remaining. The internal battery of this device is designed to last for around 10 years of reliable use. The last problem that I've seen a lot of people reported actually resides in this bag, and it's this huge power brick. As you can see, this power brick is a huge device. And if you know anything about electronics, you know that huge devices use a lot of power. So yes, this does put 400 watts of AC power into the AC200P, but if you leave this plugged in and turned on, even without the AC200P hooked up, this pulls about 11 watts from a wall outlet. If you're not charging the device and you don't need this plugged in, unplug it so you're not wasting electricity. There's almost no way to work around this because this has a minimum operating cost, and that minimum operating cost for this is around 11 watts. There are a few more items that come inside of the box. Next is this marine adapter to XT90 adapter. This is what you're going to use for any of your DC charging functions. On this side you have your XT90 jack, and on this side you have your marine jack. So if you're going to charge this device from your car, using a 12-volt car charging outlet, which is what most of us drive around with, you're going to get about 100 watts from this plug right here. If you do have a 24-volt system, you can get around 200 watts using the DC car charger as well. And then finally, we have this MC4 to XT90 cable, and this is what you would hook up to your solar panel array to get some solar power into the device. I've been camping a lot this season, and I took this thing minivan camping with me on my last trip. I use it to make coffee, and I use it to cook dinner with my electric induction stove. And I had a lot of success with that 2000 watt AC inverter using that induction cooktop stove. That thing pulls a lot of power, and for me to cook a meal, it took about 10% out of this device, but I was able to recharge it quickly without any problems. This is the biggest non-expandable device in the Bluetti lineup. The next one above this is the AC200 Max, which you can then add some batteries to later. Keep that in mind if you are looking at the Bluetti lineup. This one has a slightly less powerful inverter, which is still pretty massive. It also has a slightly smaller battery than the AC200 Max, but its main selling point is that it is much cheaper compared to those expandable models, and this will work for about 90% of your everyday needs for a day or two without solar power. If you'd like to know more information about this portable power station, check the links in the description below, and I'll see you on my next adventure. I almost forgot, this thing does weigh about 60 pounds, so if you are planning to take this camping with you, bring a wagon.